how do we make sense of the political language we hear every single day? Well, today we're going to try something a little different. We're using the words of a German punk rock icon as a kind of compass to help us navigate the really confusing and honestly dangerous rhetoric of our time. Let's get into it. Okay, first things first, let's get one thing crystal clear. Rio Reiser, the incredible German musician and activist, he passed away back in 1996. So obviously he never said a word about figures like Donald Trump or Elon Musk. What we're doing here is using his fiercely democratic, anti-authoritarian spirit as a lens, you could call it a moral compass, to try and understand the language that's shaping our world right now. So Reiser's band, Ton, Steine, Scherben, gave us this incredible line, Macht kaputt, was euch kaputt macht. It means destroy what destroys you. And you can just feel it, right? It's this raw, rebellious shout to tear down the systems that hold people back, things like poverty, injustice. The whole focus is on dismantling structures, not attacking people. Now, just hold that idea of liberation in your mind for a second, and then listen to the language of today. We hear phrases that call entire nations worthless, that twist the very idea of equality into its complete opposite, and that frame being aware of social issues as some kind of disease. It's a jarring contrast, and believe me, that clash is the whole point. And that brings us right to the heart of what we're exploring today. What actually happens? What's the real-world fallout when this strategic, divisive political language gets supercharged by the incredible reach of today's tech platforms? To really get the stakes here, we first have to understand our compass. Who was Rio Reiser, and why does his philosophy of resistance feel so relevant right now? One of Reiser's most famous lines is, Musik ist eine Waffe. Music is a weapon. Now, that's a really powerful statement, but it's also really easy to misunderstand. What did he actually mean by that? And here's the absolute key to understanding him. For Reiser, music was a weapon against abstract forces. It was a tool for building solidarity against exploitation, for fighting back against the politics of fear, and for resisting anything and everything that tries to divide us. So in his world, it was actually a weapon for unity. All right, let's put this compass to the test. We're going to dive into our first case study and see how this all fits together. We'll look at how racist language isn't just some random outburst. It is a calculated political tool. Let's go back to the speech that kicked off his 2015 presidential campaign. He's talking here about people coming from Mexico. And the language is just so broad, so accusatory, it's painting this picture of a dangerous invasion. But you really have to look at the pattern, at the playbook. First, you assign this collective guilt to an entire group of millions of people. Then, and this is the trick, you toss in a little alibi sentence like, and some, I assume, are good people. See, that doesn't walk back the smear at all. It's just a rhetorical trick to make the dehumanization sound a little less extreme. And the end game? It's to make harsh, cruel policies seem not just okay, but necessary. And then, well, the language escalated. This quote, which I'm sure you remember, was reportedly about people from countries in Africa and the Caribbean. There's no nuance here, no rhetorical trick, just pure contempt. And this gets us to the absolute core function of racism. It's all about creating a hierarchy. A statement like this isn't just some casual insult. No, it's a declaration that some people are valuable and entire populations are worthless. It creates a desirable us versus a disposable them, and that builds the moral groundwork for discriminatory policies. Now, this third example from 2019 was aimed at 4 non-white American congresswomen. I want to repeat that. All citizens of the United States. The message being sent couldn't have been clearer. You don't actually belong here. And that's exactly what this tactic is about, denying belonging. It's a way of telling citizens of color that their passport doesn't really matter, that in this view, their real identity is their ethnic background, not their citizenship. It's a classic strategy to redefine the true nation as white, and to paint any criticism from minorities as somehow illegitimate, as foreign. Okay, so that's the political arena. But what happens when this kind of fight shifts from explicit politics to the culture wars and gets amplified by the immense power of a social media platform? So here we have a full frontal assault on diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives. And let's be clear, these are programs designed specifically to try and combat historic, systemic racism in places like work and school. This is a really clever and frankly dangerous rhetorical move. Let's call it the inversion trick. You take the very thing designed to fight racism, DEI, and you just relabel it as racism. It's brilliant. in a way, because you don't have to argue with any facts about actual inequality. You just flip the script, you call the solution the problem, and you effectively protect the status quo. And it doesn't stop there. It goes even further. The term woke, which, just started as a way to describe being aware of social and racial injustice, gets completely reframed here. It's not a political view anymore. It's a contagion. Think about what that word virus really does. It's a way of pathologizing justice. It reframes people who advocate for equality. They're no longer opponents you can debate with. They're infected individuals that need to be destroyed. This is profoundly dehumanizing. It takes the whole conversation out of the world of ideas and throws it into the language of disease and eradication. So what happens when you combine the political tactics of someone like Trump with the massive amplification of a platform owner like Musk? Well, you get a really powerful and self-perpetuating cycle. This is pretty much how the outrage machine works. It's a predictable cycle. Step 1, a provocation. Some scandalous, often racist statement is made, designed to get a huge reaction. Step 2, outrage. It generates massive attention, both from people who love it and people who hate it. But all that attention has an effect. Step 3, normalization. The window of what's acceptable to say in public actually shifts. The unthinkable becomes debatable. Then comes step 4, the retreat. The person might claim it was just a joke or taken out of context. And finally, step 5, repeat. The cycle starts all over, and each time it pushes the boundaries just a little bit further. Okay, so we've analyzed the problem, but just pointing it out, that's not enough, right? Responding to it is a completely different challenge. And the truth is, a healthy democracy needs a strong backbone to stand up against this kind of manipulation. So what does that actually look like? Let's talk about a toolkit for democratic resilience, some real, practical things we can do to break this cycle. First, don't amplify the hate. Even if you're criticizing it, sharing it just feeds the machine. Second, refuse to use their language. When they call efforts for equality racism, correct them. Don't adopt their frame. Instead of sharing the attack, find and amplify the voices of the people who are being targeted. Stand up for the democratic institutions and norms they're trying to tear down. And maybe most importantly, practice critical media literacy. Always ask yourself, who benefits from me seeing this? Who benefits from this frame? In the end, it all comes down to this. This is not a debate between two equal sides. This is about a fundamental, non-negotiable principle. Human dignity is not up for discussion. It's the absolute bedrock of a decent society and a functioning democracy. And because of that, the only rational, moral, and democratic response is clear. No power to racism. Full stop.